this program to bring you a special news bulletin. The Japanese have attacked Pearl Harbor, Hawaii, by air, President Roosevelt has just announced. The attack also was made on all naval and military activities on the principal island of Oahu.
Yesterday, December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy.
Okay, this is John DeRosa here for MHS TV, and I'm here with a very special person, Mr. Bud Schafer. He's a Pearl Harbor survivor. He's been a strong supporter of MHS, Board of Directors on Manasquan Savings and Loan, a graduate of MHS. And Mr. Schafer, we're glad to have you here. Maybe you could tell us a little bit more of your background. I know you were a graduate of Annapolis.
Yeah, I was a graduate of Annapolis, and I played on the football squad, not the first team down there. And I graduated in June of 1940, which probably makes all this ancient history to you folks.
And how about, what was the time span in between when you graduated Annapolis to the time that you ended up in service?
Oh, it was immediate.
It was immediate.
I was ordered immediately to the Arizona at Pearl Harbor, and we were the first class, graduating class, that did not get any leave. The whole political situation was getting very tense.
Mm-hmm. And how old are you when you were sent over?
24 years old.
24,
right.
Now, as students now, a lot of times, you know, we won't get as much of the background of Pearl Harbor and the events leading up to it in school as there actually were. Can you tell me a little bit about what it was like upon your arrival there? You know, how did you feel about it? What was it like?
Well, at that time, the world was in chaos. The Germans had run through France in about a couple of weeks, and London was being bombed to its death. And Japan was running around Asia, and the whole world just seemed to be disintegrating. Mm-hmm. And we knew that it was just a matter of time before we got into war. We just didn't know when.
Mm-hmm. Now, what were you served on the Arizona?
I served on the Arizona, yes.
Now, what were some of your duties and your jobs? Well,
I was the 4th Division officer, and our division had a turret. We had a motor launch we were responsible for, and we also had a catapult. I was a catapult officer, and we would shoot off the scouting planes.
Now, from the time that you were there, how long in between until Pearl Harbor was actually bombed?
A year and a half.
A year and a half.
Yes. I was stationed at Hawaii for two solid years. It was a year and a half before the war and a half year afterwards.
Did you see things, you know, the pace of the war accelerating? Was there a build-up to it? Maybe you could tell me a little bit about how things changed, if there was like signs that you knew.
Well, certainly, there sure was signs. I told you what we were responsible for, but my watches were on the bridge as off the deck. And close to Pearl Harbor, every time I came on the bridge at midwatch, which is midnight to 4, and the captain's night order book would say, read, unidentified submarines in our operating area, keep in a special lookout. And those were the days that we earned our money, which was $145 a month, incidentally.
Wow. And so how long, like you said, the special submarine watches, and how long before Pearl Harbor was that?
Well, I would say a month.
Yeah.
A month before.
Now, in between that, there was, I guess, like a full year since you, at least a full year since you got there, and then what was that first year like for you being there? Was it like very chaotic? I know you said that you told me before that you coached a football team on the Arizona, and I mean, what was that like? Was it as chaotic as?
No. It was Hawaii was a very, very nice climate, and it was rather nice duty, and I enjoyed it. In fact, I got to tell you about a football game I went to on Thanksgiving. The two local schools, one was a prep and the other was the high school, Punahou and Kamehameha. And in the half, the cheerleaders did a hula. And I said, that's for me.
So basically,
it was good duty. It was good duty.
Yeah, and there were some good times, I guess.
Oh yeah, sure. Waikiki Beach, we were there a lot.
Yeah.
Good swimming.
Now, I'd like to talk a little bit more about some of those memories a little bit later. But you know, as we're going, so you left off about like a month before Pearl Harbor was actually bombed, and you said that there was unidentified submarines off the coast, and was there some? I mean, did anybody really realize what was about to happen?
Well, we knew there were submarines in our area, but one of the things that people don't really appreciate is one of the duties of a submarine is to scout. And we assumed that they were scouting us. We didn't know that, well, they were scouting us and passing back information as to our movements and so forth. And the whole world was getting very tense right at that time, if you can imagine. Everybody was in a fight of some nature.
Now, let's bring it up to, let's say, a week or so.
All right.
Before, and maybe get a little bit more, specify. Well,
Sure. Well, about a week before Pearl Harbor, we went out on maneuvers on the west of Hawaii, and that is when we got these submarine warnings. And I'll never forget when we started to come into harbor on a Friday. The destroyers reported more submarines, and our admiral, who was on the ship, sent out the message to death bomb them. And I said, my God, this is war. Yeah. And when we went through the torpedo nets into Pearl Harbor, and I thought, thank God, this cruise is over. And I thought, well, at last we're safe. And I didn't know, I had no idea that in less than 2 days the ship would be sunk.
Now, around this time, maybe you'd like to, what was going on around, like outside that area? What was going around in Europe? Was that around that time? What was going on?
France was knocked out, and poor England was just being bombed to pieces, and we didn't think they would last. I mean, and it was just terrible times, and it was just unbelievable times. France was supposed to have one of the biggest armies, bigger army than Germany, and Germany just went through them as fast as they could, as their blitzkrieg would go. It was unbelievable.
So I get the feeling that when you said you got back to Pearl Harbor, you said you kind of felt safe. You felt,
yes,
my God,
right.
that's I'm back home, and I guess that kind of added to the shock of it all. I mean, that since it was American territory, and being back there, and then a few days later.
Well, that's right. What a lot of people don't realize is that the Army, it was responsible for our safety, for the safety of the fleet and the island.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one reason why I guess we kind of relaxed.
Yeah. You kind of felt that everything was going to be okay because it was in
well, yeah, sure. We thought we were protected. We were in the harbor. It was all over.
So let's talk a little bit about the day of Pearl Harbor, and the event. You know, how did the day go? What happened? Was it what time of the day did it happen? And
well, let me go back a little before that.
Okay.
We knew things were getting tough, and here comes Saturday night, and I went to one of my friends and said, "What, you going ashore?" And he said, "No, I'm going to save my money for a Christmas present." So I went to another classmate, and I said, "Are you going ashore?" And he was very upset. He wasn't going ashore because he was assistant to the navigator, and the navigator wanted him to bring up the charts, to correct the charts for Singapore. And he says, "I think we're going to Singapore." That's the scuttlebutt. So there was rumors all over the ship for everything.
oh wow.
And then, so I said to him, I said, "Well, I'm going ashore. I don't have anything special, but it might be the last time in a long while."
Mm-hmm.
So after a few night spots, I met another friend, and he said, "I've got a room at the Moana, stay with me at the Moana Hotel in Waikiki Beach." So I said, "Sure." Well, 8 o'clock that morning, we heard the shooting. And I said, "My God, things must be tough if the Army's practicing on Sunday morning." And so I called up the desk, and I said, "What's going on?" And they said, "Well, we don't know, but if you're in the service, you're supposed to get back to your post." So I had a girlfriend out there, and I was supposed to go out with her that afternoon, and I called down the desk and said, "I'd like this phone number." And they said, "Oh, you can't call unless it's emergency." And I said, "Well, it's emergency to me." So I got her on the phone, and all I got is, "My God, Bud, are you alive?" And she hung up. And I later found out that one of our 5-inch shells landed right in her block and blew in all the windows. And so then I went. I fortunately had a wreck of a car, and I rode back to Pearl Harbor, which is about 15 miles from Waikiki Beach. And I got down to the dock, and I said, "What's burning around the Arizona?" They said, "She's been sunk about 10 minutes ago." I said, "Oh my God!" I couldn't believe it. Here I am in civilian clothes, and thank God my own motor launch came alongside, and we got, I don't know why, but we just went for the Arizona. We got in the middle, there was the last wave of Jap planes. And throughout the war, I was never scared about getting hit by the Japs, but I've been petrified about getting hit by our own bullets, our own shrapnel, because at that point they were all shooting up at the airplanes, and here we are in an open motor launch, and all the shrapnel's coming down. So then nobody saw more of the death and destruction of Pearl Harbor than I did, because that whole day in my motor launch, we went around, picked up people dead and alive, and did whatever we could. And that night I went to the Tennessee, and it was tied up in front of the Arizona, and our propellers were turning over at the equivalent of 13 knots to keep the burning oil from the Arizona away from us. And it never entered our mind that the Japs were not coming back. I mean, Here the fleet was knocked out, the planes were knocked out, and that was their biggest mistake, that they didn't come back because we were caught very badly.
Now, was there a strategical reason that they didn't come back, or was it like a folly?
It wasn't their plans, and I don't know what it was sort of brilliant. The attack and everything was brilliant, very well executed, and but they didn't plan to. They didn't have the troops to conquer the island, and it was stupid. It was brilliant and it was stupid. Here they had the island just the way they wanted it, but they didn't have the backup to take it. And we mustered the Marines on the Marine force on the Tennessee to repel the boarders coming ashore, and of course rumors were all over. They were at this place or that place or that place. The Japs, we had them all over. But fortunately, they didn't come back. And it's just like what the mistake they made. If you're out hunting for bear and you see a bear sleeping, you either shoot him, but you don't kick him in the rear end. And that's what made everybody upset. And the country really came together, and really that's what won the war. Everybody was for it. Everybody, the sailors and the Marines and the Army, everybody supported the war.
So basically Pearl Harbor, although, I mean...
Consolidated opinion.